Did you hear what I was playing, Lane?
I didn't think it polite to listen, sir.
Well, I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately. I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte.
Yes.
I keep science for life.
Yes.
Oh, and speaking of the science of life, Lane, have you got the cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell?
Yes, sir.
By the way, I saw from your book that on Thursday night when Lord Shoreman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne were entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Now, why is it that at a bachelor's establishment, Lane, the servants invariably drink the champagne?
I attribute it to the superior quality of the wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the wine and champagne is rarely of a first-rate brand.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
I believe it is a very pleasant state, sir. I have often observed... Yes. I've had very little experience of it myself up to the present. That was in consequence... I've only been married once. That was in consequence of a misunderstanding between myself and a young person.
I'm not sure I'm much interested in your family life, Lane.
No, sir, it isn't a very pleasant subject. I hardly think of it myself.
Very natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders don't set us a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They seem, as a class, to have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
Ernest, how are you, my dear fellow? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algy.
I believe it is customary in good society to take some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
My dear fellow, when one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one amuses others. It's excessively boring.
And who are the people you amuse?
Oh, neighbors, neighbors.
Got nice neighbors in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly, Lord. Never speak to one of them.
How immensely you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire? Yes, of course. Hello, harvest cups. Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance for one so young? Who is coming to tea, Algy?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that is all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. Why, it's almost as bad as the way Gwendolyn flirts with you.
I'm in love with Gwendolyn. I'm come to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you said you'd come out for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are, my friend.
Oh, I really don't see anything romantic about proposing. It is very romantic to be in love. But there's nothing at all romantic about a definite proposal. While one may be accepted, one usually is, I believe, then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I'll certainly try to forget that fact.
I'm quite sure you will. The divorce code was invented for those whose memories are so curiously constituted.
Oh, there's no use speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Oh, and don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They're cut specially for Aunt Augusta.
Will you finish me the entire time, Algy?
That's quite a different matter. She is my aunt. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
Oh, very good bread and butter it is, too.
Well, you need not eat as if you were going to eat it all. You behave as if you were married to her already, and you were not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
Ask why.
My dear fellow, girls never marry the men they flirt with. They don't think it right.
Oh, that is nonsense, Algy.
It isn't. It accounts for all the extraordinary numbers of bachelors one sees all over London. And in the second place, I don't get my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin, and if I'm going to allow you to be married to her, you're going to have to clear up the whole question of Cecily. Lane!
Cecily? What on earth do you mean by Cecily? I don't know anyone by the name of Cecily.
Lane, bring me the cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room last time he dined here.
Yes, sir.
Roger, you mean to say that you've had my cigarette case the entire time? I really wish to goodness you would have told me. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it, and was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I would wish you would offer a large reward. I happen to be usually hard up.
That is more. There's no point in offering a large reward now that the thing is found.
Well, I think that is very mean of you, I must say, Ernest. Ah, but it makes no matter, for now that I look at the inscription on the inside, I find that the thing isn't yours after all.
What do you mean? Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times.
But you said you haven't known anyone by the name of Cecily, and this is a gift from someone of the name of Cecily.
Very well then. Cecily is my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady. Lives in Tunbridge Wells.
But if she is your aunt and lives in Tunbridge Wells, why does she call herself Little Cecily? From Little Cecily with her fondest love.
My dear fellow, what is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. You seem to think that all aunts should be exactly like your aunt. That's perfectly absurd. Just give me the thing back, Algy.
Yes, but if she is your aunt, then why does she call you her uncle? From Little Cecily with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, would call her own nephew her uncle, I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all. It is Ernest.
Very well, it isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
But you have always told me your name was Ernest. Well, I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You look as though your name was Ernest. You are the most earnest-looking person I've ever seen in my life. It is perfectly ridiculous to say your name isn't Ernest. Why, it's even on your cards. Here's one of them. Mr. Ernest Worthing, B4 of the Albany. I'll keep this as proof that your name is Ernest if ever you attempt to deny it to me or to Gwendolyn or to anyone else.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
That may be so, but that does not account for the reason that your small aunt Cecily, who lives in Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come, old boy, you better have the whole thing out at once.
Algy, you speak exactly as if you were a dentist. It is very vulgar to speak like one was a dentist, especially if one is not a dentist. It produces a false impression.
Well, that is exactly what dentists do. Now, I may mention that I've always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret fundraiser, and I'm quite sure of it now.
Fundraiser? What on earth do you mean by that?
I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to tell me why you were Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Very well. Cecily is not my aunt. She is my ward. The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a young boy, left me in his will, guardian to Cecily Cardew, who lives at my place in the country, and out of motives of respect that you could not possibly understand, addresses me as her uncle. She is also under the charge for admiral governess, Miss Prison.
And where is that place in the country, by the way?
That is nothing to you, my dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I will tell you quite candidly that it is not in Shropshire.
Oh, I've always suspected that. I've unburied all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, I'm not sure if you can quite understand my real motives. But you see, when one is put in the place of a guardian, one must adopt a very high moral tone. As a very high moral tone cannot be said to conduce much to either one's health or one's happiness. I have created a very useful brother who lives in the Albany and gets the most dreadful scrapes, so that I may get up to town more often. That is the whole truth, pure and simple.
Well, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either, and modern literature a complete impossibility.
That would not be at all a bad thing.
Oh, literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try it. Leave that to the people who've never been at a university. They do it so well in the daily papers.
Algy, I wish to goodness you would just give me back my cigarette case.
Fine, here it is.